With many left-of-center scientists, the environmental activists now realize that the so-called consensus on man-made global warming is not holding up. The left-wing blog Huffington Post, this is a left-leaning organization, surprised a lot of people by featuring an article on January 3rd of 2008 by Harold Ambler demanding an apology from Gore for promoting unfounded global warming fears. The Huffington Post, again left-leaning, the article accused Gore of telling the biggest whopper ever sold to the American public in the history of mankind, because he claimed the science was settled on global warming. The Huffington Post article, titled "Mr. Gore, Apology Accepted," adds, "It is Mr. Gore and his brethren who are flat earthers, not the skeptics." Again, it is not myself, not Jim Inhofe saying this about Gore. It's the left-wing blog of the Huffington Post saying these things. The Post article continues, and I'm quoting now. It says, "Let us neither cripple our own economy by mislabeling carbon dioxide a pollutant or discouraging development in the third world, where suffering continues unabated day after day." Another left-of-center atmospheric scientist who has descended on the man-made climate fears is the UK's Richard Courtney. Courtney, let's keep in mind when all this started. A lot of people forget. This was started by the United Nations. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They came out and they said, oh, it's man-made gases, anthropogenic gases, CO2, methane, that are causing climate change. And this person used to be on that panel. He was an expert reviewer, and the UK-based climate and atmospheric science consultant is a self-described socialist who also happens to reject man-made climate fears. Joining Courtney are many of the other progressive environmentalist scientists, former Greenpeace member and Finnish scientist Dr. Jarl Albeck, a lecturer of environmental technology and a chemical engineer at the University of Finland who has authored 200 scientific publications, is also skeptical of man-made climate doom. Albeck wrote in 2008, quote, "Contrary to common belief, there has been no or little global warming since 1995. And this is shown by two completely independent data sets. But so far, real measurements give no ground for concern about catastrophic future warming." This is kind of interesting because what he's saying, and this is a guy that started out with the United Nations, he was in at the beginning with the IPCC, that we're not even, right now we're actually in a cooling period. I think no one debates that now. We've had the most severe weathers, and I have another talk I'm going to try to get in next week talking about what's happening around the country right now. It isn't global warming, it's global cooling. And we go through this. People forget that God's still up there, and we go through these cycles. I can remember in the middle 1970s when they were saying there's another ice age coming and we're all going to die. And those same people, and there's an article in Time magazine at that time, are the ones now saying that we're going to die, but it's for a different reason. It's global warming. Lifelong liberal Democrat Dr. Martin Hertzberg, a retired Navy meteorologist with a PhD in physical chemistry, also declared his dissent of warming fears in 2008. He said, and I'm quoting now, "As a scientist and lifelong liberal Democrat, I find the constant regurgitation of the anecdotal fear-mongering claptrap about human-caused global warming to be a disservice to science.